All right, so welcome to another episode of Sudden Change Pod. Always got to remember to say the right name. Now that we on something different. Um, Beanz here. JA out doing his coaching thing. So we got a special guest host with us today. We got Shaq on. How you feeling today?
Feeling good, man. Feel honored to be here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Glad to have you on. You've definitely
Yeah,
been a
yeah.
supporter from the beginning, so we always
Yes,
appreciate
sir. Yes,
it
sir.
once. But yeah, we'll jump right into it. We had you on before back on Old Pass, so we just want to reintroduce some people to you. Big Eagles fan. How did you start? Like, where did your Eagles fandom start?
I would say it started around when Donovan got drafted.
Way back.
I didn't have a team. I was just coming off watching the Yankees, growing up in Southern Connecticut, being a big Yankees fan was the thing. I was watching Jordan. I'm a Bulls fan. I wasn't really watching the NFL. My father and mom are Dallas fans, and I was like, I didn't feel that connection. So I saw this black QB get drafted, and I said, you know what? I'm a follow him, and I can just credit Donovan for my Eagles fandom.
Gotcha. So I never knew it. So you're from a family of Dallas fans?
My mom and dad are Dallas fans. My grandmother's a Giants fan. My grandmother's all New York.
Yeah. So you got everybody in the division. How does that work?
Everybody.
How does that work?
It,
Are you the only Philly fan?
I'm the only Philly fan in my household while growing up. My
Yeah. So
brother's a Chargers fan. He's
okay.
weird, but I'm the only sane one in my house.
So was that like I don't want to say contentious because not really contentious, but like was that like a real rivalry in the house with the teams?
Uh, Not really. My mom, I think she joined when it was popular to be, a Dallas fan. Early 90s, Jimmy Johnson, when they were winning. It was
Yeah.
the cool thing. It was America's team, quote unquote. My grandmother is just everything New York. She's a Mets fan. She loves UConn though, but she's all New York. She doesn't really root against my team, but she just supports New York teams. My dad is just he's more of a realistic Cowboys fan, so he doesn't really give me too much pushback.
Yeah.
So it was cool growing up.
Gotcha. So you're pretty, I know you don't want to admit it, but you're pretty respected in the Eagles realm on Twitter. Like whenever you put something out, you're gonna get responses one way or another. So how did that all like kind of come about? Because one day I just saw you up there and I'm like, wow, you got a lot of people commenting on everything you say. How did that
Man, look, someone asked me about that the other day. I just said, look, man, I say my opinion, and I guess a lot of people agree. But I appreciate, man, everybody that's been rocking with me since day one. All those followers that I have, they all been cool, man. Eagles Nation is something special. I'll say that.
something special in more ways than one? So let's get right into some Eagles talk. Last
Yes,
year was an
sir.
interesting season. You guys started
Yes,
off
sir.
hot and then you kind of just tailed off. So,
Yeah.
just what was that experience like for you last year? Just watching you go from like the highest of highs to like just completely tailing off.
Ah, man. Even I would say something didn't sit well with me going back to week one against the Patriots. The game was close when it should have been. And I'm just thinking like, maybe it's just Jalen. He didn't have much of a preseason. You know, he's starting to get his legs from under him and he's trying to get back into the rhythm of getting back into the grind. But the games were like close. Like even when we played Washington, I'm just like, why are we in a dogfight with this team? So then that kind of like put like a flag out for me. And I'm just like, this is gonna be different from last year. Because last year, I mean 2022, I mean, we were blowing teams out.
Yeah,
And like you've just felt comfortable going into each week, like, all right, Eagles got this. It was a little different. Um, Jalen was making uncharacteristic mistakes. Uh, Defense was giving up big plays. I know we had a different defensive caller. Jonathan Gannon had went to Arizona, and we lost our OC Shane Steichen to Indy, and I knew that was going to be a big change. Not too much because we were promoting our quarterbacks coach Brian Johnson to OC, and I'm thinking like there's already rapport there. He knows the offense. He's worked with Jalen. It should be a smooth transition, but it wasn't. A lot of the play calling looked stale. There was lack of motion. AJ and Devontae were still eating, but we were like, they weren't getting the separation like they were back in 2022. And I just, it looked a little, but we were still winning games, like you said. And it's not really until that, man, the Jets game was kind of like, we all saw it as a fluke. Jalen didn't have his best game.
Great defense
They
though.
just, yeah, it was good. It was a good defensive game. Hats off to them. They game playing well, but it was that 49ers game where we just got our teeth kicked in.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm thinking like, all right, we were due for that. Let's just rebound against Dallas for the second meeting. But then it was just another blowout, and I'm just like, okay, something's going on. They
Yeah.
made the change at DC. Matt Patricia comes in. Sean Desai, first year DC goes out. It was crazy is that they didn't fire him, but they kind of like demoted him and they kept him on staff, but he wasn't play calling anymore.
Right.
And I'm thinking like Matt Patricia, he's coming from the Bill Belichick tree. He's got some pedigree to him. All these Super Bowls, he's called some great defenses. He's gonna get us right. But I did want to keep it in perspective. Like he's coming in late into the year. There's not much he can implement,
Yeah. Yeah.
but at least he can kind of like stop the bleeding, so to speak. And then, that game against Seattle. When he let Drew Lock come back on him. And after that, it was just okay, something we not right this year. It doesn't have the same magic as 2022.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
you,
yeah, go ahead, man.
no, I was gonna say, so you mentioned a number of things that kind of went wrong as the season, once the
Yeah.
season ended, what did you think should be the main priority in fixing? Because what was the biggest issue that you had?
My biggest issue, somebody disagree. I thought it was Nick. I'm like, look, man, this is supposed to be your team, your offense. Shane's gone. You're supposed to be the guy that like gets everybody going. Like we didn't have much change on the offense. Like there wasn't anything like crazy, no crazy shuffling as far as like new players. You were supposed to replicate and actually build off of what you did well in 2022, and it looks like we took two steps back. And I'm pointing the fingers at the head coach. Like the head coach has to at some point, all right, look, man, I got to implement my philosophy, my offense. I got to, stop the bleeding, but he couldn't. And it looked like the offense looked clueless out there. And I know they were taking cues from him. I can't really put too much blame on Brian Johnson, even though Brian Johnson called the plays. It's still from Nick's leading. And I still felt like uh the offense felt stale, man. I mean, you saw some of the games, it's like it didn't have that same explosiveness. They were really grinding for plays. I mean, other than the tush push, nothing really was like successful. We weren't really doing anything well. We weren't running the ball like we wanted to.
Hmm.
I felt like they were overly relying on Jalen's athleticism, and I think teams caught on to that, and we just never had a counter. So I think the problem started with Nick, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what are your thoughts on Jalen and his progression?
Mm,
Was it the play calling that hindered him the most, or has he kind of
right.
just reached a kind of a peak as a player, like we figured him out type of thing?
Right. I mean, people have to understand Jalen was considered a project, bro. Like, he
Sure.
came into the league, he was considered like, hey, he might not catch his stride until like year 5, 6. But then Jalen had in year 3, second year as a starter, he took off and he was getting MVP, considerations.
Hmm.
And then we all saw what he did in the Super Bowl. Of course, fell short, but um, I think he put the league on notice. Like, yo, this guy is like a top 5 quarterback in this league, and he has the tools to be one. I think what happened in 2023, um, partly on Jalen, I felt like you can see he was dancing more in 2022. He's uh, joking around. Of course, he has like this stoic thing about him, but he was joking around, dancing after touchdown celebrations. He wasn't doing that much in 2020. I felt like he was putting too much burden on himself. Like he felt like the weight and the pressure of getting back. And it's a grind, and trying to get back to a Super Bowl. People don't talk. That's hard to do.
Yeah,
It's
for sure.
hard to do. And then, him finally getting the reins and that new contract from the Eagles, and they said, look, you the guy we rocking with for the next 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
There's a pressure in Philly to win and to win now. And I think he was feeling that sometime, all of last year. And I think it kind of affected his play. Like he wasn't playing to me, he wasn't playing as sharp as he was in 2022. Of course, he was dealing with that knee injury, but Jalen's not going to be the one to say, take me off the field. Um, and I think play calling in a little bit kind of hinder him because Nick and Brian didn't seem like they were one accord, and they felt like they were trying to just learn, like figure stuff out on the go. And again, they were trying to overly rely on his athleticism instead of, yo, man, let this dude be what he was in 2022.
Mhm.
Like build on him as a passer. I felt like they were just trying to rely on his legs. Yeah, he can make a couple defenders miss, but I just felt like it was just too much. This person pulling this way, this person pulling that way, and then Jalen trying to win games when he could. For example, like the Bills game, he was like, "Get on my back. Play calling's not it. I'm gonna win us this game." But that only can carry you so far. You
Yeah.
know, you know what I'm saying? That can only get you so far. So I just think more coaching, but Jalen does have to. He was making some dumb mistakes, especially we saw in the Jets game against the 49ers. He was doing too much, wasn't locked in.
Yeah.
It is what it is. He had a down year, but I don't think that's an indication of his like ceiling or potential. I still think he has the tools to be a top five QB in this league.
So going into this season, if you had to kind of quickly rank quarterbacks in your mind, is he top five? You got your
Quickly
Mahomes, you
rank.
got your Burrows, you got your Lamar who just won a MVP. Um, Allen's always in that conversation, even though he's so up and
Yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
is he top five, would you say, or is he where do you put him at? Around.
Let me ask you this. People, and don't let this, be delivered the wrong way. So I'm gonna try to be careful. People just out of the blue, not out of the, let me choose my words carefully. I think out of habit, people put Burrow in the top five,
Mm,
but Burrow has had trouble staying on the field.
yeah. It kind of depends on how you make your decisions. Because some people say, the best ability is availability. And if you're not available, then maybe you shouldn't be on that list. Um, if we're talking consistency and being on the field, then I might not have them in the top five. But if we're talking about when they're on the field, what they're doing, then
Okay,
I
okay,
would put
okay.
probably put them in there.
So I would say Jalen, maybe he's top 10. I think he fell out of top five range last year.
Hmm.
I would put, Mahomes, Lamar, Allen. I put Burrow up there. I don't know if I can put Birdie, bro. Not Purdy, excuse me.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know, man. I just felt like he had a good season, but I don't know if that's him versus that's just Shanahan. You can plug
just
anybody in there because we saw
yeah,
Garoppolo take like a similar team to the Super Bowl and do
yeah,
well. Um, but I mean, you got to consider golf. The year golf had Jordan Love is you got a top five. I don't know, but he's definitely in that top 10 range. The way
yeah.
he just played down the stretch,
Hmm.
it's tough, man. Jalen might be in that top five again, top five, top 10. I don't know. I don't know where to rank Jalen, honestly.
Yeah. I mean,
He's definitely top 10. I'll put it like that.
yeah, I think he's depending on how you're rating it, probably maybe just outside, maybe six, seven, but he's definitely still up
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
the weapons they have this season, it's no reason he shouldn't be definitively
Facts.
back into it.
Facts.
With that
Facts.
being said, let's talk about the offseason. Probably the
Yes, sir.
biggest move of the offseason probably was Saquon staying in the division, going to the Eagles. What were your initial thoughts? Did you think you'd be able to get him? And what was your reaction when you
First initial thoughts.
did?
How we did it. How we did it. Howie Roseman doesn't pay for running backs, but I
Howie
think that
does amazing stuff. He's in on every player. I don't understand
every
how.
player, bro. Listen, I feel like he's just getting better and better. I think that when he got clowned in the 2020 draft for not selecting Justin Jefferson, when he was right there and he took Jalen Rager,
Yeah.
I think that kind of builded like that built up some character in him and some toughness and some like, man, I gotta be better. And I think like even after the Chip Kelly years, Howie has just progressively gotten better. Um, but Saquon, man, it's just like that's a generational running back. I mean, he was literally the Giants' offense.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not too many times like a running back of that caliber, than Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry has some wear and tear of Saquon's caliber that hits the market. And you got to just how he saw an opportunity and he got it, man. It's just like hats off to him, man. He's trying to make the team better, and that's what a GM's supposed to do.
Yeah. So is he that missing piece? Because DeAndre Swift was good. I think
He was good.
I
He was good,
questioned the
bro.
way I used them sometimes, just kind of threw
I
me off.
did too.
So, I mean, is he the missing piece? And do we expect him to be used to his full potential? Because we don't always see that with your running backs.
Right. So that again, that's going to come back to coaching because, like you said, man, DeAndre was very good for us. I actually wanted him back,
Yeah.
but I knew it was going to come down to a numbers game, and I knew that the possibility of Saquon hitting the market um, would entice Howie. I just didn't think he would make that move, especially paying him what he did. But it's really going to come down to how Kellen Moore is going to utilize him. I know it's going to be an emphasis, you know, a secret emphasis on like, look, we got to protect Jalen best we can. Like, he was hobbling 6, 7 games last year. Yes, the tush push is nice, but we want to keep Jalen from being a runner as much as we can. I mean, if need be, we'll let him use his legs, but that's why we need a bruiser back, but also an elusive back like Saquon back there to take the load off and just to add another dynamic to the running game.
Hmm.
I mean, the Eagles already had like a top 5 rushing attack in the league. You had Saquon back there behind arguably the best offensive line he's ever had in his career. And then it's like, uh, the potential is crazy. You could probably, man, it's crazy just to think about the possibilities of what that offense could look like.
Yeah.
If everybody's just hitting on all cylinders with that offense, but with Saquon in the back, and he's
Yeah.
a great blocker.
Yeah. The pieces are definitely there.
Yeah,
So I'm assuming, I don't know how much you follow your division in off season, but I'm assuming you pay at least some attention. I felt like
yeah,
the Cowboys were really quiet during the off season. They didn't really do much.
yeah.
Even the draft, they did a little bit. So going into the season, do you think
Mhm.
it's fair for you guys to be the favorites in the division?
No, for sure. And let me just be objective. Like Dallas, I felt like the Tyler Guyton pick was good because they lost Tyron Smith, they lost Biotis to the division to the Commanders. Um, and those are two anchors on your offensive line, and we know how Jerry likes to beef up that offensive line. You get Zeke back, that's cool, but now you're in like some contract, disputes with CD. You don't know if you want to keep Dak for long term. You got
Mm,
to pay Micah soon.
yeah.
Um, what's their secondary going to look like? Dan Quinn is now the head coach in the Commanders. He's kind of like the guy that got Dallas's defense to where it was last year. Who knows what Diggs is going to look like after coming off that injury? Um, do you bring Gilmore back? What is I forgot the guy that stepped up when Diggs went down and he led the league in interceptions. Like, where does he build off that success? There's a
Right.
lot of questions. I mean, Dallas is always going to be in the mix because they're just well coached and they still have enough pieces. Like CD's a beast. They got something in Ferguson. Um, I feel like Dak is just, he's a good quarterback. I mean, he's not elite like some people say, but he can win you some games.
Yeah.
He's gonna win you 10, 11 games.
Mhm.
So it's usually us and Dallas in the dogfight. I'm not too much worried about the Commanders or the Giants, but I just think Jerry he wants to win, but he wants to win his way. And I think they were just for this particular offseason, they were limited because they have some big decisions looming, and I think
Yeah,
they had to make some calculated moves.
that's true. Let's move on to the draft. Just overall thoughts on your draft. Are there any guys you really liked? I definitely liked you guys being able to somehow get two of the top corners. So, what are your thoughts on the draft?
Dog, I didn't think in a million years how we would revamp the secondary through the draft.
Mm,
Not only just revamp, you got arguably two of the best cornerbacks in the draft, and they just fell right to you.
yeah,
Yeah, we had to trade up for Cooper, but man, this kid had a top 20, ranking. Like they said, this kid's gonna go top 20 for sure. But thank God for the Falcons. Shout out Jay. Thank God for the Falcons that they selected Penix Jr. And I felt like that shifted a lot of there was a run on QBs after that.
mm,
And then, the offensive lineman had to go. And then I just think that pushed the DBs down. And then, Mitchell fell to us where he was projected to. Um, but then getting Cooper was just like the icing on the cake.
yeah.
Because they said this kid can play anywhere in the backfield. So, and we needed to get younger at that position. Slay's getting a little older.
Hmm.
Bradbury's probably gone after the June 1st date.
Yeah.
And after that, it's just like, the guys are serviceable in the depth chart, but it's not guys that you can really bank on. Like, hey, man, we need to go out there and make a play. These are guys that we can rely on for the next 4 or 5 years. So I think Howie did a crazy job just rebuilding the secondary, not only through the draft, but through free agency as well. Because we got CJ back. We're getting some guys back from injury as well. We got that dude, Isaiah Rogers. He was suspended last year for gambling, but now he's back. I heard he's a dog. Got him from Indy. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Overall draft grade gave it like an A.
So are those two guys that you think will, transition to the NFL well immediately and be able to make an immediate impact? Those two corners.
Man, they're talking about Mitchell might start day one. Um,
I mean,
and
if
then it's
If
like
Bradbury's gone, he might have to.
you might have to. I know one of the rookies are going to start on the outside, but the
Mm,
thing is, it's like you have to get Cooper on the field because they said this kid is a baller. Um, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard he was like an All-American in three positions at cornerback,
wasn't
like nickel and both the outside corner positions.
he? Yeah, he definitely
He
was
can
one of the
play.
top guys.
Man, they said he could play safety if need be. So they said like you gotta try to get this kid on the field. I was listening to our DC his press conference today, and then he's gleaming because we got these two kids. And then it's just like I don't know if you remember these guys. I know you didn't follow the Eagles like that, but it's like Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown. Two
Yeah.
guys you can rely on for the next 8 seasons.
Hmm.
It's a changing of the guard. Slay has been a dog for us since we got him. Bradbury had that one good all-pro season, but I think he's scheme. He's limited by scheme. He only can play a certain zone kind of coverage type of guy. He can't really shadow. And I'm thinking like they're trying to get more balanced and younger again at that position. So all in all, we got it. I know Mitchell's gonna start, but I know they're gonna try to get Cooper on the field too. To where I don't know. Maybe nickel. Maybe they move him to safety. We're gonna see. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy that you have to have on the field. And I did see a lot of talk before the draft that depending on what team he went to, he might get moved to safety altogether. So
Right.
there's a lot of different places you could play him.
Mhm.
Definitely looks bright for that. Let's talk a little bit about this season and then we'll get out of here. So
Sure.
they already announced week one, Eagles versus Packers. Like Brazil or where is it at? Brazil or something?
Yeah, it's in
Somewhere
Brazil. It's in
Brazil,
Brazil.
which is very random to start the season, but
Right. On a
uh,
Friday.
on a Friday. So how are you now that you kind of see what your team is? Of course, there are gonna be cuts and additions
Mhm.
for the rest of the off season, but going into that, if just knowing what you know about them, what you know about us, what would your give me a game one prediction? How do you think that game is gonna play out? Yeah.
But y'all lost Aaron Jones. But y'all got Joe Mixon, if I'm not mistaken.
Josh Jacobs again.
Josh Jacobs. Okay.
Yeah, mixing with the
Uh,
Houston.
Mixon with these. Okay. So Did y'all get any wide receiver help? I know y'all had like a relatively
No,
young core,
we kept that core the same young core. That's we got the same
and they
guys.
can and they can ball, man. They did their thing, in the playoffs. I think this game is going to come down to LaFleur versus Moore and Sirianni. Uh, I think we probably got you guys at the skill positions. Uh, I probably give the edge to Jalen just because he has a little bit more of experience, starting, playing in big games. I Love surprised me last year. I think if I want to give a prediction, I feel like it's gonna be close until like the fourth quarter, and then there's gonna be one or two plays that's gonna on the defensive side that's gonna you know open up the game for either team. I think I'm gonna say 28, like 19. That's gonna be the final score. I think the Eagles are gonna come out on top. I think Saquon. I think Saquon rushes for two. Jalen throws for one, rushes for one.
Sheesh.
Um,
Okay. So those two account for it all.
that's it, man. I think AJ catches one. I
Gotcha.
think y'all contain Smitty for to some extent.
Mhm.
I think it's gonna be a good fought game until like the fourth quarter. Then I think we'll probably break away.
Um,
No slight, no slight. I still got
ah,
y'all making the playoffs. No slight though. No slight.
I, I could. I think you guys. I wouldn't put my money on us. I put it like that. I would
Okay. Okay.
expect
Okay.
it to be close, and I think we do benefit from the fact that it's going to be game one for those new corners, and our
Right.
even though our wide receivers are young, they balled out last year. So I think
They can
that
play. They can play,
that
man.
plays in our favor, but I just don't know if
Yeah.
it plays enough to win.
Right.
So I think it'll be close, but I have no qualms with you saying y'all come out at top at
Yeah.
the end.
I think it's gonna
Um,
come down to coaching, bro.
yeah,
Seriously.
I agree, and Lafleur, I questioned him a lot up until last year, and I realized
Yeah.
I think the dynamics between him and A-Rod kind of made it seem like he wasn't as good a coach as
Mm,
he was. He didn't have the full reins. Last year he had the full
okay.
reins. We kind of got to see Jordan Love what that
I see
offense
that.
could be.
I
Yeah.
see that. I see that. I
So
see
we'll
that.
see what year two, a full year two
Yeah,
look.
man. That's the toughest year. That's the toughest year. Teams
Um,
got more film on you.
yeah, that's very true. So overall, let's just say, what are we thinking? You don't have to necessarily give a prediction, but just overall thoughts on the season. If you want to give a prediction, that probably will help people understand what you're thinking more. But just
Okay.
overall, what do you think your season is looking like? Because you got the NFC. I'm just looking at the schedule for the NFC South. So you got Carolina, Atlanta will be interesting with Kirk now. Got Jacksonville. Who else out of division? Pittsburgh, Tampa. You got some interesting games in there.
For sure, bro. For sure. Uh Man, we got Cincy too. Um, I think we have the AFC North, right?
Yeah, let me see. I didn't see Baltimore, but maybe yeah, at Baltimore. Yeah. So you got that's an interesting division.
I can say 11 to 12 games. Um, we're gonna have some tough losses. Like I can see us losing to the Ravens.
That'd
I
be
can
a good
see
one.
us. I don't think we'll lose to Atlanta because I just think the Eagles just have so much success against Kirk Cousins.
Mm,
And I feel like they're still trying to figure out what they want to do on offense. Defense, they're still trying to piece it together. Even though they're last year they proved like they are a tough out. I just think that you know, Kurt, we're gonna test that leg, man. He's what, 34, 35, coming off a
oh,
serious injury. They're gonna test him, they're gonna make a move. And he doesn't have Jettas anymore. That was a safety blanket.
yeah,
So I think that we'll probably win that game, but that game against Burrow, if that boy's healthy, he's a headache. Um, and of course, with Cleveland, their defense is so good.
yeah,
They're going to make it tough on anybody. Even it don't really matter who they have behind quarterback. And then they're probably getting Nick Chubb back.
yeah,
Um, so it's going to be tough, man. I think the Eagles are going to really. I think last year I felt like they kind of somewhat silenced the. There was like that talk in 2022. Oh, they got an easy schedule. They won't play nobody. Cool. I felt like we had a lot of big wins in 2023, even though we lost games we should have won. I felt like we would won a lot of big games against some good teams. And I think they're just gonna do the same for this upcoming season. I think they're gonna have some games that they probably should have won and lose, and they're gonna have some games that they are probably penciled in to lose that they're gonna win handedly.
Yeah.
And I think they're gonna build off. They're not gonna get as stagnant as they did last year. I think Kellen Moore is gonna provide some dynamic explosiveness to the offense. I think Jalen, um, he's going to get back to his, I want to say all pro status, but he'll probably be top 10 in almost every category as far as QBs. And I think like it's just health is the biggest thing. If we're healthy, I think we're probably the top three team in the NFL. Seriously, I won't put it as number one, but I'll say we're top three. If everybody's healthy and everybody's projected to do what they're projected to do, I think we're one of the ones that you got to beat.
Interesting. Top three in NFL. I was just about to ask where you felt like you fell in NFC.
On
'Cause
paper, yes.
I was gonna say, you got San Francisco, who's been consistent. You got
Mhm.
Detroit, who's the past 2 seasons has been very good. And then I put you in that kind of top three in NFC, but you're saying top three in the whole NFL.
I think we got it, man. Of course, you got to put Kansas City, maybe Baltimore up there. Baltimore lost a lot of players in offseason, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh, San Fran, I'll probably give San Fran the nod over. It's just the fact that they beat us
Hmm.
badly when we played. Um, and I felt like they didn't really lose anybody like that in the offseason.
Not much.
Um, but I think we're gonna test Purdy. I think Vic Fangio is gonna really, if we do ever meet in the playoffs again, I think we're gonna have this is gonna be a different outcome. And I think Jalen hates to lose. That's the good thing about Jalen Hurts. He just hates it. He's just a dog like that. And I think shoot, man, I got Green Bay up there with some of I think they're gonna surprise people.
I agree. I hope so.
I think, man, I got a good squad, bro. I got y'all up there, man, with the dogs, man. I don't know about top three, but I got y'all in like the top 10 range. Y'all gonna
Yeah, I would agree. Um,
yeah.
so I just want to end with this. I got a few, I won't say all the names, but it's a few Philly fans that, you know, kind of ride the wave. When y'all are high, they're up, they're like, we're the best team. And then this other, when y'all get down, you're like, I don't know if Jalen's the guy. I just, one of them be a moose. So what do you say to those? What do you say to those?
Ah,
You have anything to say to those fans who, kind of
man,
ride that wave?
man. Look, bro. Trust the process, man. Trust the process, man. That's a Philly model, right?
I
Um,
was gonna say, but last
nah.
thing, when I trusted the process with the 76ers, y'all ended up with Ben Simmons. So
Hey, hey, you're right. But I ain't a Sixers fan, but you're right. But the thing is, look, what you need to just take away, and what are some cold hard facts about the Eagles, in Jalen in particular. Again, like I said, he's a winner. Jalen, when it's all said and done, he just wants to win. And that's in his pedigree, that's in the way he plays, that's in his approach, the way he prepares for games. He's going to keep you in every game because as long as number one's back behind center, you have a fighting chance. I don't care if we go against the 2007 Patriots. If Jalen is back there, he's going to make the game somewhat close. And I think with this year, the optimism is that Kellen Moore, who is also given a lot of credit for revamping Dallas's uh, offense a few years ago and propelling Dak into that kind of top 10 quarterback talk.
yeah,
Kellen Moore is considered the architect of of that offense, of that scheme. And that's what we lacked. We lacked like a play caller who had his own ideas, who was took advantage of motion and getting like the slot receivers involved. So I think that, with him compared, coupled with Jalen, I think you could probably see Jalen throw for over 4,000 yards this season. It will be probably the first time in his career. I can see Jalen uh, being amongst the league leaders in passing yards and touchdowns under Kellen Moore. So I think that's something good to hang up on. Nick Sirianni said, this year I'm taking a step back. Whoever the new OC is, that's his offense. And I'm glad he kind of said that because now there's no, well, who's calling this play? Who's calling that? this is Kellen Moore's offense. This is his
Yeah.
blueprint. That's something that you can be confident in. Ride that wave that, we finally got some stability at the OC position to somebody who's experienced. The Eagles actually interviewed Kellen back in 2020 for the head coaching job. But they end up going with Nick Sirianni. But Kellen got, the organization was impressed with him and in his mind and the way he dissects the defense. So yeah, man, but tell Moose, man, look, this, you can't be too high. You just ride it out, bro. Trust Jalen. You got a good quarterback, man. It's about time. We ain't had that since McNabb.
Yeah.
Foles he was cool, got us the Super Bowl, but he wasn't the long-term answer. And Wentz was up and down with injury, he was inconsistent.
Facts.
Come on, man. And tell him to trust Jalen. He's gonna be all right. He's gonna get us there.
I'll make sure that Moose sees that. But yeah, great to have you on. Great
Man, it's a
episode.
pleasure, brother.
I definitely appreciate having you on, and we'll
No doubt,
definitely have
man.
you again.
It was
Um,
fun, bro. Appreciate it.
let's do it again sometime. When Jay
Yes,
comes
sir.
back, I'm sure he got some stuff to say.
Bring Jay up here, man. Bring him up here, bro.
Gotcha. So, yep, that's another episode, Sudden Change Pod. Thanks to Shaq, and we will catch y'all next time.
All right, man. Love, bro.